Since the end of World War II, the U.S. has suffered through 12 recessions, or on an average, one every 6.5 years. Currently, it has been about 15 years since the last recession from 2007 to 2009. And the New York Fed's recession probability model suggests that there is still a 55.8% chance of a U.S. recession sometime in the next 12 months. Regardless of when this happens, it's important to be prepared for different markets, including with our real estate investment. So in this video, we'll walk through how to create a real estate portfolio that will perform even during a recession. Hey guys, I'm Brandy Leiden, host and founder of Mom You're Not Alone. I'm also a local realtor and investor here in Knoxville, Tennessee. So let's dive in. All right, number one, first thing we're going to talk about is don't put all your money in one type of investment. So imagine this, you've just bought your first fixer-upper in a neighborhood that you believe is on the rise. You're excited, so you buy another, and then another, planning to flip them for a big profit. But then the economy crashes. Home prices plummet by 30% and no one's buying houses. Now you're stuck with 3 homes you can't sell, all needing expensive repairs with property taxes and maintenance costs piling up. So according to Zillow, during that 2008 financial crisis, the U.S. home values dropped nearly 23%, leaving many house flippers and real estate investors underwater. So was this a smart move? Not exactly. So we want to talk about diversifying your investment. So instead of putting all your money into flipping houses, consider spreading it out. So perhaps invest in rental properties, a small commercial building, or even real estate investment trusts, REITs. So this way, if one type of investment isn't doing well, another might be. I'll elaborate a little bit on this with my personal experience. So I kind of run my real estate portfolio the same way. So I have a little bit of residential rentals, I have a little bit of VRBO, the short-term rentals, and then I do have some commercial rentals as well. So like triple net leases and things like that. Those are, nice and spread out. So if one portion of the market crashes, you have other options. I agree with this completely. Number 2, you don't want to borrow more money than you can handle. So let's talk about borrowing money. It's easy to get carried away when banks offer big loans. So especially during a booming market, the banks are going to loan more money. But think about in 2007, the average subprime mortgage interest rate was around 8.5%. And many people took on loans that they really couldn't afford, and that led to the 2008 foreclosure crisis. So more than 10 million Americans lost their homes during this period. If you imagine that you take out a huge loan to buy a fancy rental property because the rent's really high right now, but what if the economy tanks, unemployment rises, and your tenants lose their jobs? Suddenly, they can't pay rent, and you're stuck with a big mortgage that you can't afford. Instead, you want to only borrow what you can handle, even if things go south. It might mean buying a smaller property, but at least you won't have risked everything if the market changes. So you really want to make sure that you can cover these expenses on your properties for several months if something were to happen. The third thing we're going to talk about is don't forget to watch the economy. So too many investors make the mistake of ignoring economic indicators. So they're getting caught up in the excitement of rising market. And then, like if you look back to before the 2008 crash, housing prices had soared over 50% in many areas, leading people to believe the boom would never end. But when the bubble burst, those who bought at the peak were left holding overpriced properties, and many losing significant equity. So by keeping an eye on the economic indicators like interest rates, employment trends, and consumer confidence, you can better time these investment purchases. So for example, when the Federal Reserve starts raising interest rates to combat inflation, it's often a signal that the economy may be overheating and a slowdown could be on the horizon. So this knowledge allows you to buy low and sell high rather than the other way around. So if you guys think about it, I know this all varies all over the country, but if you think about in the last year, we saw interest rates rise. All of the people that were out there with a 3% interest rate, they don't want to buy a house. You know what I mean? They don't want to buy an investment property at 8%. So that was to combat the inflation that we were having. So, and then we saw a slowdown a little bit, and then now they're starting to drop the interest rates to, bump back up the economy. Okay, so the fourth thing we're going to talk about is refinance when rates drop. So let's say you took out a loan with a high interest rate to buy a rental property. It seemed manageable when the rent was covering the payments, but what happens if the economy slows down and your income drops? So during the 2008 recession, mortgage delinquency rates skyrocketed. So nearly 10% of all mortgages in the U.S. became delinquent. Crazy high. So if those high payments start eating away at your profits, you could be in trouble. So refinancing your loan when interest rates are low can help lower those payments, providing a safety net if things get tough. So you want to be able to watch out for that and refi when those interest rates drop. For example, if you look back to like the COVID pandemic, the Federal Reserve slashed interest rates to near zero levels. So I don't know how many of you guys have a mortgage at 2%. You're probably going to keep that home for a good amount of time, but it was offering an excellent opportunity for many homeowners and investors to refinance their mortgages and reduce their financial burden. So this was a great time for people to refinance, pay off some debts, and reduce their overall financing burden. Okay, the fifth thing we're going to talk about is stay liquid and flexible. So finally, let's talk about liquidity. Real estate is inherently illiquid, so real estate is not a liquid asset. That can be a problem if you need cash fast during a downturn. For instance, during the 2008 financial crisis, the average time it took someone to sell a home skyrocketed to over 10 months in some markets. And this left many investors unable to access their equity when they needed it the most. So imagine you can't sell your property, lending's dried up, banks are not giving out loans. But by keeping some of your portfolio in liquid assets like cash or easily tradable securities, you maintain the flexibility to seize the opportunities to cover these unexpected expenses when others can't. So Warren Buffett famously says, "Be fearful when others are greedy, and greedy when others are fearful." You want to make sure you have liquid, and this is going to allow you to take advantage of buying opportunities during a recession when assets are undervalued. So you want to definitely make sure that you've got some liquid to seize those opportunities. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching, and if you got value from this video, make sure to like and subscribe today. Thanks.